What message would you like to pass on to future generations?
Live your life. Live your life. Don't live somebody else's, and don't try to outdo anybody else. Like I said, help people if you can. If you have that and your religion, if you have God in your life, you have a lot.
Miss Janice, where are you from? Where are you located at this point in time?
Central Louisiana.
And can you tell me when you were born and your age today?
My age today is 86. I made 86 on the 16th of July. I was born here in Central Louisiana. I'm the youngest of 7.
Can you paint me a picture of your earliest childhood memory?
Yes, especially in the summertime, we had vegetable garden, we had chickens, pigs, and everything. But anyway, we had fig trees. And I remember fig picking time was for my birthday. My sister and my brother would pick. And while I was up in the tree, they'd say, "Oh, it's your birthday today. Happy birthday," in a fig tree. So we picked the figs, and my dad would cook them that day in a big black pot outside with some fire. He would can them 12 quarts at a time, and that was for the winter.
So I bet the figs didn't last long.
They didn't, not with, well, at the time, maybe 5 or 6 kids. Mom had a wood-burning stove, and that's where she cooked all her meals. And she also heated her irons. She put that on the stove so she could iron. And I remember her using that stove to cook supper, dinner. We only had big meals on Sunday. Weekdays, we might have had biscuit, eggs. Sunday was like chicken fricassee, a little bit more, Sunday dinner. We didn't have heat all over the house either. Either heated by the wood stove, one fireplace in the living room. And if you weren't seated in front of the fireplace, you got cold. You on the back side, you got cold because the heat was all in the front.
Going back, say like a weekday night, is that when you would eat eggs, biscuits?
Biscuits and maybe some grits. Or the old saying, kush kush. I don't know if people are familiar with that. That's the cooked cornmeal with a little bit of grease in the black skillet. And you put that in a bowl with some milk. Clothes you wore to go to school, you had to take that off because that was going to be worn the next day. Put old clothes on and go shell corn for the chickens. We had chicken yard, we had hogs, cows, a couple of horses. And we shelled corn for the chickens, and the boys would go to the barn and do for the hogs and the cows. And we were done with that. We play outside. Definitely didn't want to go inside till it was dark.
And why?
Because we didn't want to be pinned up. We'd been pinned up at school all day. We wanted to play outside. We call it La Vieille 3, and that means the old sow. You'd mash up a can, if you could find a can. You make a bowl with it, and you dig so many holes depending on how many you were playing. If you were 6, you dug 5 holes. And the one that didn't have a hole had to be in the middle with that can and a stick and try to get it in somebody else's hole so you could get the hole, and they would have to have the can and the stick. And they called that La Vieille 3, an old sow. Why, I don't know. I had a cat, and the boys always had dogs around the barn. And I also had a pet chicken. This chicken was a little, like I call it a little runt. And the other ones took advantage of it and peck him on the head. And it made him kind of cuckoo. And I felt sorry for him. And they would not let him eat. He got to the point, he got so spoiled and was attached to me. When I'd sit on the front porch, he'd come up from the chicken yard, up the steps, and sit on the rocker next to me. So that was my pet and my little cat.
Ms. Janice, when you would go to the local store to purchase groceries, what would you purchase?
The bare necessities, like flour, beans, rice. His mom made her bread. And Dad would go and get the meat from a little meat market we had in town. And it wasn't that expensive, but you didn't have the money either. You try to get something that would feed the whole family, you know. But the store was flour, sugar, coffee, oil. We didn't buy Hershey bars either. There was no stores. If they did, another town might have a department store, but we had no way to get there. Mom would sew our clothes, and we didn't wear uniforms to go to school. She had a brother and his wife. He had a very good job. They adopted a boy and a girl. He could afford some nice clothes for the kids. When the little girl outgrew her clothes, the mom would pack us a box and send it to us, and we were very excited. One time she put in long johns, and it was very cold. My mom would make us wear them to go to school, but under a dress, because you could not wear pants at school.
Did your mom sew?
She sewed, she made quilts. She made our little Sunday dresses, and we'd wear them to go to school too. We had to take care of our clothes. You had to undress after school and wear some older clothes. We didn't have stores to go buy them, and she didn't have that kind of money. My dad raised 7 children on 6 acres of cotton, and he had to share because the land was for his mom, so he had to give her a portion. We didn't have a lot of splurging. If you had a friend that had a car, and there weren't too many, we had a close friend, and if we needed to go to the doctor or get medicine or something, she would drive us. She did have a car. It wasn't a brand new one either.
Is there any individual that from your childhood who has had a significant impact on you, and why?
My oldest brother, he had a very big heart. I was always very close to him. He had a lot of patience. No parties, maybe a cake, you know. Holidays, well, that was different. Dad would slaughter a pig, and Mom would bake a coconut cake from scratch. And naturally, the ones that had finished school and moved away would come in for Christmas dinner, for Easter. Everything we had on that table was homemade. Pork. She had beans, snap beans like from the garden, because he had a very big garden. Not very much stuff bought. She'd make homemade root beer for the drink. In fact, I can still remember the name, Summer Joy.
Miss Janice, as a child or a teenager, what oh no moment comes to mind that you knew you were in trouble?
7th grade was the first year upstairs, and we were all very excited. The helicopter came around, and well, let's just say everybody wanted to go to the windows to see the helicopter. Mind you, you think they would be amazed today with that? Everybody stood up and went to the windows to watch the helicopter. And the teacher said, "Remain standing." We didn't know what we had done. Nobody was supposed to get up. Copy the Declaration of Independence. That was our punishment. And you know where I copied mine? In the chicken house, so Mama wouldn't know. I'd got punished there too. And we did walk to school, by the way. We didn't ride the bus. And on rainy days, cold days, didn't make a bit of difference. But when it was very, very cold and we were going to school, my dad would take the little bitty coffee cups, and put a tablespoon or 2 of whiskey, and put a little bit of warm water with a little bit of sugar. You had about maybe a good swallow that would keep us warm going to school. So we were stoned when we got to school.
Well, you had to have something to
I had
keep
to
you
warm us
warm.
up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Honesty and kindness, because my dad had a very big heart. My mom too, but he was a very kind person. He'd rather not have and give what he had to somebody else. I was brought up with that.
Our parents are our teachers.
Everybody that was raising a family in those days, they wanted their family to be raised right. That's 2 things I remember. And I'm trying to follow, but this day and age, it's kind of difficult to do that, you know, because I don't understand, because I wasn't brought up like that.
What kind of music did you enjoy in your youth? Did you have a certain hangout where everybody would get together and socialize?
When we were older, but as kids, no. As kids, we had one Monopoly game for the whole neighborhood, and we'd pass it around.
So as a teenager, what kind of music did you like?
Elvis. And we had an old building in town and they turned it into a teenage center. I think we had a jukebox, I'm not sure. And all the classes would get together and we'd go jitterbug on the nights that it was open. And my first cousin and I, he said, come on, let's go dance. Started the jitterbug and we won the prize. We sold concessions at the theater for $12.25 a week. Then when I graduated from the concession stand, I went to sell tickets. That's all I had. We didn't get paid that much. Nobody knew any different because that's all you had. Jobs weren't too plentiful out here, you know. Everybody had large families, so they used their kids to work in the fields, haul hay, pick cotton.
Miss Janice, if you could give one piece of advice to your 20-year-old self, what would it be?
Like I said, honesty and helping others, being kind, helping others if you can. That's my main objective and my main goal today. If I can help somebody, that's what I want to do. And I feel that's how everybody should do. If we had more of that today, the world would be a better place to live. Today, looking back, I wouldn't change a thing, not compared to today. Because I've seen better and I've lived better. Yes, ma'am.
How did you meet your spouse?
He came to work at Dubrock Supply, and that first cousin that I talked to you about was working there too. He introduced us, and our first date was an ice show. We went with his sister and her husband because they had a car.
How old were you?
About 16.
And what was your first impression of him?
Oh, he was handsome, very soft-spoken, not rowdy, polite. You know, my dad would never let us girls run to the car if a boy came to pick you up. He had to get down and come in the house and get you. Morning. We were living in a little rent house that had not been lived in for 25 years. No bathroom. Today, I don't know what they call them. They used to use them as cow troughs. He bought one, and that's what we'd bathe in. Heat some water on the stove. And in the wintertime, but that was a different situation. You had to put it in front of the oven for you not to freeze because they didn't have heat in the house. Maybe a year, maybe two. Then we found a little house here in town. And then I had my first baby there.
Do you have any life regrets?
Can't think of anything I would regret. I guess because we didn't know any different. You accepted what you had, and your neighbor couldn't help you because they weren't any better off than you were. Electricity. You can still pump at the pump, the old cistern, a pitcher pump on the cistern for water. You had to haul it.
Can you give me a couple of important values you try to live by?
Honesty, prayer. I love my prayers. I love my church. That would be, to me, one of the most important things to live by. If you have that in your life, you have plenty. My upbringing, my family that I grew up with, and the family that I raised. And I'd give anything to have my old man back.
What do you think is the most underrated virtue?
I think it would be kindness. People are not kind. They have no value on helping people and being kind, you know? If somebody needs help, help them.
What brings you the most joy and peace today?
My family and my grandkids and my great-grandkids. That's my heart. My heart, that would be the thing I treasure the most. To my knowledge, it's not bright. The way people are living, no. Too much violence, not enough God in their lives. People just don't care. That doesn't exist in the world today.
Is there something you'd like to share with the world that no one knows about you?
We roast at school for the high school classes, and all the other girls were wearing shorts. I couldn't. I didn't have shorts. The crowd that I rode with, she says, come on. She took me to the bathroom and gave me her pair of shorts. And I wore some shorts to go to the weenie roast. When we came back, I had to take them off and put my other clothes on. And Mama never knew. If she had known, she wouldn't let us out. That really, it bothered me, you know, after you did it. You were scared that Mama would find out.
What would have been the consequences of that?
Oh, she'd have punished me.
Miss Janice, if you could relive one day from your life, what day would it be?
The
and
day I
why?
got married.
Wow.
Because I was very happy. We were in love, and he was a good person. That was one day that I was very, very content, very happy. Very, very good man, very good husband, and a good dad.